Welcome to the E6S Methods podcast with Jacob and Aaron, your weekly dose of tips and tricks to achieve excellent performance in your business and career. Join us as we explore deeper into the practical worlds of Lean, Six Sigma, project management, and design thinking. In this episode number 182, Jacob and I ease back into podcasting after a long break, answering some top Lean Six Sigma questions from Quora. If you're just tuning in for the first time, find all our back episodes on our podcast table of contents at e6s-methods.com. If you like this episode, be sure to click the like link in the show notes. It's easy. Just tap our logo, click, and you're done. Tap, click, done. Here we go. We have hit a point in our podcast where I'd like to open up the box. I mean, there's obviously Lean and Six Sigma, operational excellence, or any kind of continuous improvement.
I feel that our listeners can or have more content or contributions to provide us, and maybe even enlighten some of the listeners on how they feel about certain topics, just not what we think about those things.
So if we could get a brave soul willing to come on the podcast, would love to hear of unique ways that people have used maybe a different tool, best practice, or even better, a lesson learned from maybe a poor execution of a tool. Go to our website, www.e6s-methods.com, click on the button that says call for content. Let us know what you'd like to share. Hey Jacob, how are you?
I'm great, Aaron. How are you doing?
Jacob, I am doing fantastic. Every time we get back together, it's always the same thing. Long time, no talk, except this time, really long time.
I know, it seems like it, right? What, 3 months, 3.5 months now that I look when I last recorded something with you?
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
May 25th.
Yeah, so the listeners have been enjoying, hopefully, a lot of reruns, and some of the stuff that we did before you left, because we built up a bit of a catalog before you left as well.
True.
So we're going to try to ease back into this with some things that are a little bit light. So I've gone to Quora, which I've never really gone before. You ever been on Quora before?
No, I have not been in Quora before. I've heard of it.
You've heard of it. So I guess it's just a big question and answer forum sort of place. It's the first time I really have been on it. I've heard of other podcasters going there to answer questions about engineering and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? I might as well go on there, see what kind of questions there are. So I've mined a bunch of questions from Quora, and I thought we'd just kind of answer them on the podcast.
Totally. Sounds good.
So there's a big list here. I think we'll do is just sort of pick randomly, and whichever one you want to look at. So any of these pop out as one to tackle first?
Let's just go down the list.
All right. Well, this is a big one. Is Lean Six Sigma still relevant?
I think so. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to look for. I think many organizations, at least from what I'm hearing, have probably rebranded themselves from just Lean Six Sigma because it's become a lot more integrated between change management and project management and continuous improvement, all those things into one bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So teams specifically might not be calling themselves the Lean Six Sigma team or the quality team, but I think for what the material contains, I personally feel it's still very relevant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and a lot of companies are trying to figure out how to rebrand themselves. They've gone through, they almost don't even use continuous improvement anymore. They try for terms like operational excellence, process excellence. Recent one I saw was business excellence, and then there's business transformation. So they're all trying to come up with some more holistic sort of terms that aren't so buzzwordy. And these are especially in organizations where Lean Six Sigma is a completely foreign sort of term, so it doesn't fit so well.
Excellent.
And I do think it is losing its relevance among the big-timey consultants, though. You know, the ones that come in, they charge a whole heck of a lot of money, and they promise the world. I think they may have tapped out, that a lot of that market already. So I agree. I think the methodologies, they're not going to expire, but the sexiness and the ease at which it can be sold to large companies, and the promise, the promise is gone. The promise that somebody can come in and easily transform your business without the business itself having to do a lot of really hard work. I think those have all been exposed as falsehoods. This is really hard work.
So maybe it's the other way, right? I think back in the day, nobody was familiar with these existing. So, I personally, and maybe it's because of my background and the courses I took in grad school and the others, this was not something that was foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was more of a commonsensical approach. It was more of somebody had to guide me to say, this is how you think and this is how you operate. So, and I think with the amount of resources out there from reading materials and, even you and I, we've talked about this a lot, where it's become a lot more commoditized.
Right.
I think that low-hanging fruit aspect of things, nobody needs the consultant to come and pluck it for them. So from that aspect, now if a consultant has to come and do, they actually have the really hard things, which even an experienced black belt or a master black belt is going to take a while, and it's still not going to be as number fantastic as what would have been a low-hanging fruit that would have saved a lots of money.
That's right. Yep.
So I think that's probably another reason why, for the reason that the scenario that you gave, where these consultants with the flashy suits and the whole thing can't necessarily pull off everything, because now it's not anymore easy.
Right. So next question: What is the relevance of Lean Six Sigma belts to robotic process automation?
Ooh, what is robotic process automation? It seems to be the latest buzz activity going on in the continuous improvement space, if I want to call it, or in your process excellence phase. What do you think this robotic process automation is?
Well, when I first read this question, and I still when I read it, I'm thinking automated assembly of physical robots moving and pick and place parts and assembling them.
Okay.
But I think you're talking about more artificial intelligence. Am I wrong?
That's what. Yeah, in our world today, in the organization that I am, because we don't have manufacturing,
right?
It's we're in a service industry. It's basically, it's a little bit of AI. It's a little bit of, hey, I need to do these 20 steps, and these 20 steps need to be repeated every time, and it's almost like I'm going to get carpal tunnel if I do this, sort of a scenario. So can I have a robot do this for me?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, if I have to download a data from a database, pivot the data into this, input this one particular field from that pivot into another table, and then summarize that table and put the data into another place, and finally create a report, or finally create a PowerPoint, or whatever that is. All those aspects which literally doesn't need much thinking. It is a rinse and repeat sort of a process.
Mm-hmm.
Can I teach a robot to do that? And when I have to do that in like a huge volume scale, both the amount of time and the accuracy can probably be kept to the same standard or a much, much, much faster, higher standard. Let me consider that particular robot to do that. Now, there is definitely an initial upfront cost for the license for the robot and developing, the formula on how the robot should activate. Mm-hmm. But once that's done, it's pretty much, less than the cost of a full-time employee.
Okay, so what is the Lean Six Sigma? What would you say is Lean Six Sigma relevance if something is highly automated in a company?
One, to get to that stage, you still need to define a process, and you still need to figure out what is the ideal way to get this done. So from that aspect, a belt could, again, do you need a belt, or do you just need a process map and a waste identification and simplification of the process? That definitely comes into play. And, there's still going to be exceptions and things that are not going to work, or there's still going to be defects if it's not set up the right way. So who's going to do the root cause analysis and figure out how you're going to teach the robot to do it the right way, or build the exception log so you can get it done? Right. That's and again, do we need a belt to do that? I'm not so sure, but definitely somebody with the skill sets to handle some of those. Yeah, that's where I would say those two do interact still.
Right, and when it comes to deciding whether or not you're going to automate, or even if you are already very much automated, having an eye for waste is still important. So don't automate something you shouldn't be doing at all is one thing. So don't automate the waste. Make sure you're only automating value-added work, and just because it's automated doesn't mean it's perfect, like you said. So there are times when you can run the same report over and over and you won't get the same financial results. Sometimes a server will time out and it won't be able to pull all the data. There are things happen under automation, and a lot of projects that I've seen do attack those issues as faults as projects.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll read the next one.
Go ahead.
Is there any alternative for Lean Six Sigma?
Alternative. Well, there's always an alternative. The alternative is business as usual. If you're talking about a company, there's always an alternative to doing nothing. I think Lean and Six Sigma is pretty holistic, and the toolbox you just keep adding, like what you said. You're adding change, execution. You're adding project management. You're adding. So I don't really think there's an alternative, but I think in order to be an impactful belt, you need project management, you need design thinking, probably agile, Lean Six Sigma together, and change management. But I wouldn't say that any of those would replace the other. They're complementary.
Yeah, totally right. And if you think about it, what Six Sigma is teaching you is part project management and part tools for continuous improvement or problem solving. If you think of it from that aspect, so I don't necessarily call it as a replacement or alternative, but they're probably trying to skin the same problem in different ways, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always try one or the other. And this is where, again, a good belt, like you said, has the knowledge of all these and can aptly choose which one makes the best sense for the particular situation or scenario.
Right. So if I want to call anything an alternative, I'd say industrial engineering, right? Because that seems to be the basis for the majority of the Lean Six Sigma methodology.
Some of this. Yep.
And there's some things out there, Shannon, RedX. They all have similar roots. They all talk about Deming. They all have a little bit of statistics in them, but they might just twist it a little bit. And certainly they have different marketing that says that they are better than the others. But at the end of the day, they're pretty much all doing the same thing.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Do employers care who you get your Lean Six Sigma from?
This is. I think they do care, and I think they care because they don't know any better. I've worked, with companies, or they want you to make sure that you got your Six Sigma from a large company, like GE or Honeywell or 3M. The branding of the company that you worked for when you became a black belt was important to them. Now, do I think that's right? I don't, actually. I think that working for a company to get your black belt, getting it while employed within a company, is more important than any of these other certifications that you can test for. But other than that, I think, I'll just leave it at that. I think they do care, but a lot of them don't care enough, maybe, and they don't know why they care. They just assume that it gives credibility, but it doesn't mean that you actually have skill or don't have skill.
Totally right. So I had the opportunity to let's say interview a lot of candidates who are applying within our organization. There is definitely, and I'm not the hiring manager, I'm just one of the panel interviewers, but there's definitely difference when I see somebody who is worked in an organization and practiced this in an organization which is reputed, like like the names you rattled out. There is a different expectation because at least when they started off, all of them had some level of standards on what it means to be a Six Sigma program or Lean Six Sigma program within their organization. Now, recently, I'm not sure how they are all handling it, so I won't go into the current state, but there's definitely a different expectation. Now, to your point, just because the company has standards doesn't mean everybody who is in the program has that standards. Mm-hmm. So from that angle, you have to really evaluate the person. And a person who is not in any of those companies but has really made some good impact understanding the tools and leveraging it properly is, in many cases, more qualified than somebody who's come from an organization in another place. Mm-hmm. Me personally, you mentioned the word certification. I really don't care if anybody has a certification or not. I really want to know, does this person understand the basics behind it, and can they apply it? That's kind of what I look for.
So how are you testing that in an interview?
Asking them a scenario, or asking them to explain with me examples on what they did when they had to do something. So I mean, that gives me a clearer picture. And many a time when you ask for, I usually ask for a case study or what he or she's done in their latest project, and kind of dig through that, and that usually shines a light on whether this person really knows what he or she's talking about.
Right.
You are listening to E6S Methods Podcast, brought to you by E6S Industries. Join us on our website at www.e6s-methods.com. Journey through success.
Are you applying for professional certification in your field? You'll be happy to learn that all this time you've been streaming Jacob and me into your ears, you've also been earning continuing education units, or CEUs, which can be applied toward most professional certifications. You can do your research, all the math, and figure out which episodes are applicable for which discipline, or you can save yourself the time and hassle and just order a CEU report from us. All you need to do is provide us with which episodes you've listened to, and we'll provide you with a portfolio including details about each episode and a certificate of recognition with a CEU breakdown by competency, including leadership, tactics and tools, strategy deployment, and principles and philosophies. So if you have certification on the mind, start here and save some time. Just go to e6s-methods.com/CEU to order yours.
All right, so I will pick the next one. Which institute is good for Lean Six Sigma training, from ASQ or KPMG?
I didn't even know KPMG did Lean Six Sigma training.
No, I didn't either. I mean, they're a financial services company, right? Or a consultant?
Yeah, they're basically one of those. Yeah, they're one of the auditing companies for the most part, financial auditing. But I'm guessing they're definitely a consulting company that does probably like the Deloittes and the Accentures and everyone else that have bells. And I'm sure as a rollout plan in any organization, they have a section which does this work. I know ASQ is trying to be was attempting to be the global standard for what this could be, but I haven't seen the KPMG program, and I don't necessarily think ASQ has that great a training program, but I haven't seen much of their content, so I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
you might have seen something.
I mean,
right?
I haven't seen their training program so much, except that it prepares you to take the test, and I'm not impressed with the test. So I'm gonna say I could not vouch for either of these. I think that I'm really much more of an advocate of the within company training programs, but a lot of those are going away. BMGI is one that sticks out in my mind as being fairly quality, but that's based off of old information. So I don't know. I'd say maybe even local colleges at this point, because it seems that every college has some sort of Lean Six Sigma program where they hire a part-time adjunct professor, usually somebody skilled in the art of Lean Six Sigma, to teach their programs.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I was alluding to in my schooling time. We didn't necessarily have a program called Lean Six Sigma training, but I was definitely taking a lot of the DOEs and the TQM sort of classes, which is usually content in the training as a part of grad school courses. So they do exist, or they did exist. This is a long time ago, and I'm guessing that's just changed, and they've branded it as a training. At the end of the day, like this is something we've covered earlier also, unless you have practice or experience applying it somewhere, a training alone is not going to do you any good.
Right.
So I think that's the more critical part. If you're a smart person and you're good at reading and learning things, a lot of that you can do yourself. But at the end of the day, it's how do you apply it? That's what's the critical part.
Yeah, I think that's really the benefit of the internal programs that I was trying to talk about, because if you have a program within your company, you're also going to get the commitment to allow you to spend time on an actual project. Whereas if you're going out and you're buying the training for yourself, and then you have to go out, volunteer your time with some other organization, or hope that your boss lets you work on something in your organization, it actually makes it a lot more difficult, and you don't usually have the amount of support you really need to successfully make it to the end of two projects to certify, in my opinion.
Yep. All right, let me look at the next question. Why is Lean Six Sigma implementer generally external to the organization? I'm not even sure what that means.
Well, I think what they're alluding to on this question is, it seems, and this is a lot of deployments start off this way, is they get a big consultant to come in to sort of kickstart the program. They have all the training materials. They have the consultants on hand, which can help you stand up your management team. They help you decide how you want to hire people. I think that's just the model that the consultants created after Motorola and GE did such a great job. A lot of people from these companies went off with all these larger consulting companies, and this was part of the promise that they made. And a lot of these bigger companies really do like to rely on external consultants to come in and do their transformation. And I have opinions on this. I think it's as a consultant, it's easier in some aspects to make the transformation, but then it's harder because then you're not actually enough of part of the culture, and you miss the grassroots change that is necessary. So you can come in and you can do the hard work up front, but then it just falls flat because you don't have somebody truly vested to take it the rest of the way.
Yeah, to continue from what you've built or what you started building.
Exactly. So I don't see anything wrong with a consultant sort of helping people get through as a more of a coach, but you really do need to have the people who are already there to take it and make it part of their own.
Totally agree.
All right. Here you go. How relevant is the Six Sigma or certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification from IASSC?
Yeah, you first have to tell me, what is IASSC?
Oh, it's like the International Association for Six Sigma Certification.
Nice.
Or something like that.
I have no idea what it even takes to get a certification from there, but I'm going to say, like I said earlier, certification in these things mean nothing to me unless you can show what you've done and how you've done it. Or you can explain. Right. How you've done and what you've done.
So I'd say it's probably equivalent to the ASQ. I have not taken the IASSC exam. I've looked at it. But I've also read posts from other people who have done some deeper research into this organization and found that its legitimacy is backed by another company that happens to also be owned by the same owner as this company. So it's like anything else. Anybody can claim to be the one true standard.
Yep.
But nobody is.
Yep. All right. What careers are there for Lean Six Sigma Black Belts?
Oh, boy. Oh, what careers are there for Lean Six Sigma Black Belts? Well, there's Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, for one.
I'm guessing, what's the career path for a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt? Maybe I'll add that to that.
It's there's so many, and I guess the question is, when you get there, do you want to stay? And that's I think that's the key question that all black belts need to ask. Is this a stepping stone to have some sort of rotation experience in different parts of the company, so I can move on and do what I really want to do, or are you going to get bit by the bug and say, this is what I'm going to continue for the rest of my career? My personal belief is most people should use it as a stepping stone, because that's what business really needs. They need somebody with the skills to go into the rest of the part of the business and continually have an eye for continuous improvement, waste, and making sure that we use data-driven decisions. And I think a small part of people should continue on with a specialized project view, where you go in and you act as a consultant to do some part-time work, mercenary kind of thing, a hired hand to come in and fix problems. But I really do think that it's only a limited people that should take that career path.
I've been in this for 10 years plus now, and what is a career here? For the most part, I feel like I built my career on this now. But there's the beauty of what I like is you get exposed, depending on which organization, how you get lined up. You get exposed to many different kinds of projects. So you have an opportunity, depending on which project you are and how much of an ownership you take, to learn different parts of the business. And in the process of doing that, as long as you're doing a fantastic job, I've been asked multiple times, hey, why don't you come join our team permanently and do this? Not as a black belt, but as something else.
Right.
So I think the avenues are wide open if you're looking at it from a career pathing perspective. But I tend to keep enjoying the fact that I still get to learn more. I still have much more opportunity to even understand the business aspect of things a lot more by being in this role. So I've continued. So I think in general, as if you think of career path, options are widely out there. Even if you're staying in this particular path of continuing as a master black belt or something else, you always have, I see, like Aaron, you were pointing out, a lot of people going into the faculty side of teaching this in some form or fashion. People doing research in these spaces and trying to see what are the newer, later techniques that can be improved or created from this. So lots and lots of opportunities, I would say.
I'd say it opens more doors than closes them, for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to skip this next one.
You don't like that one? Come on.
No, it's not necessarily like that one. Do top management consulting firms value candidates with the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification?
I'd say no.
My answer is going to be that, again, probably because they're smarter and they know what exactly they're training on, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
With just a certification. So I think they look for your experience more than anything else.
Yeah, and management consulting firms typically they wouldn't even value a master black belt certification. They're not as interested in true tactical competency in these things. They are looking for people who can talk the talk, they can walk the walk enough, but more importantly, most of them also have to be able to sell, because the consultants that go into management consultant firms, they give a little, but they only give enough to make the next level of sale. That's a little bit too overgeneralized, but they are also salesmen. So whenever they get into a company, they start searching for other opportunities where they can bring either more people in or extend the amount of time that they can live there.
Yep.
So a lot of times they'll go after Ivy League schools and they'll brand, their folks. Some of these top consulting companies, they hire new hires like right out of Yale and Harvard who have never done any consulting before, and they just say, pretend like you know what you're doing, and that's their job.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome.
I have to admit, most of these questions were asked back in 2015, 2016, maybe even earlier, 2014. If any of the listeners have new questions that they want to ask, go ahead and just email them to me, Aaron, AARON, at E6S-methods.com, and we'll answer them on a future episode.
Perfect.
Thanks for listening to episode 182 of the E6S Methods podcast. Stay tuned for episode 183 for the second half of Questions from Quora Answered. Don't forget to click like or dislike for this episode in show notes. Tap click done. If you have a question, comment, or advice, leave a note in the comments section or contact us directly. Feel free to email me, Aaron, AARON, at E6S-methods.com, or on our website. We reply to all messages. If you heard something you like, then share us with a friend or leave a review. Didn't like what you heard? Join our LinkedIn group and tell us why. Don't forget, you can find notes and graphics for all shows and more at www.e6s-methods.com. Journey through success. If you're not climbing up, you're falling down.